Well, we welcome you back to the Euroformula Open Championship. It's the first race of the SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS weekend, and by equal measure, it'll be our 13th outing here at the Ardennes Forest. This circuit, of course, notorious, the home of the Belgian Grand Prix, and we're about to undertake 30 minutes of action in the second chapter of this illustrious season. 14 cars will be lining up onto the grid. The temperature in the air is 10 degrees, 24 degrees track temperature. There's been a lot of running on it this morning, and indeed this afternoon as well. A little bit of humidity in the air, but no threats of rain, but you never know here at Spa. Of course, coming into this race after qualifying, Rui Hengye will start on pole position after landing his second of the campaign after a positive start at Portimao that saw him collect 2 wins in the 3 races. George Morgan here, your commentator, and alongside me once again, it's Chris Stevens.
Hello, George, and it's all looking a bit familiar after Portimao, isn't it? Rui Hengye on pole position once again, as he was last time out in Portimao. Jesse Carrasquillo, he's going to be the big question mark. We know that Carrasquillo has got some great pace in that 27 car, but it was his start last time out that let him down. I'm sure he will have done a lot of work with that back on the simulator in Oschersleben, and also potentially getting the car out on the track just to do some practice starts there as well. It is very much a motor park affair at the front of the field, but we do have an expanded effort here from BVM Racing this weekend, bringing a 4th car into the mix. It's Elko Feldman. He lines up 7th on the grid. Just missed out on reverse grid pole, in fact, on his debut in the championship. And 2 cars from DriveX here this weekend as well. So nice to see the grid growing.
Absolutely right. Of course, the cars will now form up into their respective slots for the time being. Rui Hengye looking to join an exclusive club of drivers that have managed to blanket the weekend, taking pole and then successive wins right through the weekend. The last driver to do it, Oliver Goethe, back in 2022. 5 drivers in total have done it so far. Sandy Stuvik managing to pull it off in 2014. Felipe Drugovich in 2018, who would also go on to land the all-time win record in the Euroformula Open with 14. And then also Marino Sato, Louis Foster, a grand collective of drivers. And we could see our 6th driver do that, of course, if Rui Hengye can carry through the weekend. But bear in mind, we have 3 races in total to bring you, this being the first of those as well. We also welcome back DriveX to the grid as well. If you remember back in 2022, they were that was of course their last season with us, and they are back with us now. With a few drivers here, obviously competing in selected races through the course of this year's calendar, so do expect to see more of them as we make our way through the campaign. Filippo Fiorentino incidentally now moving his way on to the grid, and of course he is part of that DriveX contingent that we welcome back. The Spanish team now back in the Euroformula, albeit for now.
Yeah, and Gino Trapper, the 2nd car, which we saw out in Paul Ricard last year with the Nielsen Racing squad. So he's back in the championship. But there is the pole-sitting car, the championship leading car, after 2 victories for Rui Hengye. Last time out in Portimao, the young Chinese Taipei driver looking very confident, and Jesse Carrasquillo with a much more identifiable livery on his car for this weekend, and he's making his intentions very clear. He's going for number 1.
He certainly is, because you could have made an argument to suggest that Hesse could have gone through the weekend on top, because it was the starts that let him down. Everett Stack will be looking for a better weekend as well. Was right in the thick of the action. Managed to finish 2nd in the opening race, 3rd in the 2nd race. Then it was 10 points accrued in race 3. Jan Koller, who was impressive, I do have to say, the Czech driver, 4th fastest, 2nd row of the grid. A positive start for the young man here this weekend, but needs to carry it through in race trim. We move back to Javier Herrera, another driver who has made a gargantuan improvement. Youngest driver on the grid at 16 years of age. It was a tricky time at Portimao for him, but the former F4 Central European Zone rookie champion, 3rd in the championship overall as well last campaign. He starts in a better position now, Chris, P5.
Yeah, 3rd row of the grid, and will be on the front row for race 3. Of course, when we apply the reverse grid, it'll be this man, Diego Della Torre, who will line up on pole position for that one tomorrow afternoon. Della Torre 2nd in the championship after 3 podium finishes last time out. There's a look at that 4th BVM car, and Alco Feldman, son of the stock car legend, the fastest BVM driver, in fact, in qualifying, beating his slightly more experienced teammates and even race winners in the form of Alessandro Famolaro as well. So we see Victor Dobransky, one of the leading contenders from the rookie classification. Last time out in Portimao, didn't quite sweep the weekend, I think, if memory serves correctly.
Tough visit. We now see Filippo Fiorentino, who's actually fastest in free practice 2 coming into the weekend, so had a strong start to his ventures out on track. Gennaro Trapper, of course, coming in for DriveX as well, starting P10. So he'll be on the 5th row of the grid alongside Fiorentino. The two DriveX cars manacled together ahead of Alessandro Famolaro, of course, taking his first Euroformula Open Championship victory in the second race of the Portimao weekend. Highly emotional scenes as well, and you can sort of see the smile through his eyes, through the helmet there, as Divi Nandan will be looking to come and make an almighty spring from P12 in order for a better place. Remember, he was leading a fair way in one of the races we had back at Portimao last time. We also welcome Lorenzo Castillo. We've got quite a strong Mexican contingent on the grid this campaign, if we factor in the likes of Diego Della Torre, for example, and Jesse Carrasquedo at the same time. And obviously for Castillo, we'd be hoping to pounce as well at the very start. And we welcome Aaron Ferrazzano back for Neri Autosport as they look to progress as well through the course of the championship. A fantastic collective of 14 cracking young drivers. Well, let's throw back and take a look at what happened last time out at Portimao. And again, the plague of the carbon clutch for some of the drivers. They were unable to certainly pull it off, but a few drivers certainly did. An almighty start indeed, it has to be said, for a few of them. Of course, the battles reigned in front with Jesse Carrasquedo trying to move his way through the field. Everett Stack was right in the thick of the action, but it was Rui Hengye who kicked off his campaign in a positive style, going from lights to flag to victory and taking the first win of the weekend. Different story, though, in race 2. Alessandro Famolaro, starting on the front row of the grid, was aligned, of course, with the BBM racing team as well. Of course, with the likes of Divi Nandan, who led a majority stint of this race. Quite a few three-wide moments as well through the course of this one. Nandan made a mistake on his run out of turn 1 and turn 2, eventually getting caught as well by Jesse Carrasquedo, who was on the move, or Diego Della Torre, I should say. Of course, though, carrying on right through to the checkered flag, it would be Alessandro Famolaro. There was a lot of jostling and fighting further back over the latter positions, but nothing stopping Famolaro, the Venezuelan, capturing his first Euroformula Open win. Moving through into race 3, again, Everett Stack taking the early lead of the race. Of course, he came under excruciating pressure. The 21 of Rui Hengye up the inside, coming through Tora Vip, and able to take the lead of the race. Further back as well, we saw further moves coming in from Jesse Carrasquedo, who continued to battle his way through the field, but then there was a brief moment where he went off track and lost place, but didn't stop again. Rui Hengye making it 2 for the weekend and for his championship campaign. And this is how said championship standings look. Rui Hengye standing tall on top by 11 points of Diego Della Torre. Alessandro Famolaro in 3rd, Everett Stack in 4th, Victor Dobransky in 5th, with Jesse Carrasquedo rounding off the top 6, with Castillo, Collar, Ferrazzano further back as well. So now all attentions turn to race 1 here at Spa. We're getting ready for the formation lap, but first let's take you through the starting grid for said race. And on the front row, starting from pole position, it's Rui Hengye. He'll line up alongside Jesse Carrasquedo, his best qualifying performance of the season so far. Everett Stack starting on the second row alongside Jan Koller, the Czech driver, looking for a big jump as well. Javier Herrera, a much better performance this time around alongside Diego Della Torre, an all-Mexican 3rd row of the grid. We move down to Alcol Feldman, the son of the stock car legend, the Brazilian, alongside Victor Dobransky, Polish star, on the 4th row. Filippo Fiorentino starts in P9 alongside Gennaro Trapper from Buenos Aires. He starts on the 5th row. And then we have Alessandro Famolaro looking to come back and strike again here at Spa, but he sits alongside Divi Nandan, who again will be looking for a much more promising result. Lorenzo Castillo in 13th, and he lines up alongside Neri Autosport's Aaron Ferrazzano in 14th. So here we go, formation lap now in full swing. Last chance to get the heat into the tyres before the race start, Chris.
Yes, and it looks like they wouldn't be struggling so much with that, given how many heat haze we're seeing out there. But it has been a very crisp morning here in the Ardennes that's turning into quite a crisp afternoon as well. You'd be forgiven for thinking all the luxuries and the heaters we have inside the pit building here, but as soon as you step outside, it does come at you like a cold snap. And so I'm sure they will be working quite hard to generate the heat in the Pirelli rubber. But, of course, one thing we have to think about, the slipstream is going to be very powerful here, George. Do you necessarily want to be leading into La Source? Rui Hengye kind of alluded to that after qualifying when he was speaking to Alfredo. Carrasquillo might be in a prime position here, starting on the front row of the grid, if he can get that car off the line. And I will say, keep an eye out for Everett Stack as well. I would expect Diego De La Torre to make some progress as well from the third row of the grid.
What's really quite compelling about this is obviously we were at Portimao. That in itself, very high variance in terms of elevation changes, cornering. Same here at Spa, obviously, but just on a grander scale. But it's interesting. The racing is so much different. You do pack a punch in a straight line going up the Kemmel Straight. Generally at Portimao, it's all done in the corners, bar the home straight. Yeah, no, it's very true. There's not really a lot of room to breathe in Portimao, whereas here there is a lot of room to think. And, you know, if you're playing your cards right, you have to play your last card at the exact right time, because we've seen some grandstand finishes here, George. It has come down to the last corner on the last lap several times. Yep, and David Kahacik last season.
Exactly, yeah. If you play your part too early, you leave yourself exposed right at the end of the race. So it's like four-dimensional chess out there, and I mean, we've got a bunch of teenagers trying to play it out there, and it's going to be great fun, I think. Yeah, of course, the Evan David Kahacik clash last season, it was almost the precursor to Monza that then occurred later that season, where they finished across the line by 1,000th of a second apart. Incredible stuff. A history-making moment in many ways, because of course it led to BBM's first ever driver's title. And Kahacik now, congratulations to him, of course, winning at Indianapolis in Indy Next a week or so ago. So the Euroformula still burning bright and providing a fantastic platform for young junior drivers in their latter steps, or pushing them for their latter steps in their motorsports careers. But plenty of young hopefuls looking for big results this weekend, and a very prevalent weekend. The DriveX team watching on their return for the first time since 2022. The Motor Park Garage in high anticipation as well. What are their drivers going to pull off this weekend? Will it be yet another victory? Victory number 3 for Rui Hengye. We'll have to find out. Regardless, he's on pole position for a second time, the only driver to take pole so far this season. Verrazano's taking his time getting into his grid box. Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't want to leave anything to chance. As the safety car now pulls up in behind the green flag. Now gets waved, and here come the lights. All 5 lights are now lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go! Go, oh my goodness me! And that is a car at a standstill there further back. That's a BBM runner, as now we see the runners take to turn 1 at La Source. Big start for SA Carrasquillo as they now make their way out of the first corner, and indeed now as they tackle through a Rouge and Radion. Further back, it looks like Everett Stack has had a poor start. He's down in 4th at the moment. Further up, Jan Koller getting into the mix. Javier Herrera also punching as well as they fly up through a Rouge, and indeed Radion as well. A fantastic start for those at the front. It's Rui Hengye, SA Carrasquillo, Everett Stack dropping back a little bit in the familiar blue car, and he's going defensive again as they now charge up through towards Les Combes. It's Javier Herrera. He had a hell of a start right at the very beginning, and now we've got to move for the lead already as they come up through Les Combes. Carrasquillo and Rui Hengye now starting to divvy it up. In comes Stack, back on Javier Herrera, and he moves back into 3rd. I'm amazed. I didn't think Carrasquillo was going to be able to have a run there at Rui Hengye, because he was so far behind into La Source. A couple of cars running wide through the middle of Rivagen on the exit of the corner as well. Yeah, that slipstream, so powerful, did bring Carrasquillo into play. So Rui Hengye is not going to be able to rest on his laurels at all in this race, I would have thought. The car that stalled on the grid was Alco Feldman. Unfortunately, the rookie curse seems to strike again there. They struggle so much to get that car off the line. But Rui Hengye with a great start. I was looking out the window, and Carrasquillo didn't seem to react to the lights as quickly as the others around him. I thought Everett Stack was going to have a pop at him as well. No, was that Stack or Herrera?
That was Stack.
It was Stack through the gravel at the exit of Stavolo.
So he got third place back from Herrera. He's now lost it again. Coming through Campos and Stavolo, he might lose a little more here, because in comes Jan Koller coming in to try and take him on, and indeed he will. And he's not alone, because in comes Diego De La Torre. The Mexicans are on fire, and indeed in comes De La Torre now. He's managed to get past fellow teammate Everett Stack. Now goes defensive or on the attack, wheel to wheel with Jan Koller as they come in towards the bus stop chicane. Fantastic move from De La Torre.
Using his experience there against his rookie teammate. So Rui Hengye over the line. It's just under 0.7 of a second between himself and Carrasquillo, so he will absolutely be in striking distance when they get to Les Combes. And then there's 1.6 seconds back to Herrera now after that little squabble with Stack on the opening lap. They make their way down the hill towards the compression at Eau Rouge. This is the leaders. You see Carrasquillo's car smoking a little bit as they make their way up Radion. There's going to be plenty of action to come here. So De La Torre now makes his move for third position to the outside. So it wasn't necessarily the storming first lap from De La Torre, but he's making up for it now as Herrera comes back at De La Torre in the slipstream, and Stack having a move on the inside of Jan Koller as well. So that is a change for third and for fifth position going into Les Combes.
This is more the Javier Herrera we expected to see. I think back at Portimao, I don't think whether it was just the nature of the track did not necessarily suit him. He's still the highest rookie driver in the field at the moment, despite losing out to De La Torre over that third place. But just see that intent, getting back into the aero, looking to the outside. Of course, he got covered off by De La Torre, immediately shutting the door. He knew it was coming, but a really inspired start for the young 16-year-old here. Of course, flying the flag for Giuseppe Mazzotti's BBM racing team as they now head down in towards the La Fanier chicane this time. Rui Hengye still working away, trying to clock out away from Carrasquillo, but the gap still remains at within 0.5 of a second. It's within 4.5 of a second, just over 4.25 tenths as they now fly downhill through Campos and Stavolo, and very soon through Corbet, Paul Frere, Jan Koller still ahead of Stack, at least the initial, and as soon as the timing beam lights up, Stack into fifth place confirmed on our timing tower. Fiorentino in seventh, Dobransky in eighth, Castillo in ninth spot as well. Argentinian Gino Trapper down in P10. He's now 1.3 ahead of Famolaro, with Divi Nandan currently half a second clear of Verrazzano. He's also half a second behind Famolaro as it stands, with Feldman trying to recover something after stalling in the BBM car right at the start. Soon to begin their next lap, and it will mean 11 laps remain or so on the run down through towards the source. Very soon you'll see them making their way down through towards the apex of the first corner. There they are now. Rui Hengye, Carrasquillo, De La Torre, that's your top three. Fastest lap this time around, Diego De La Torre. 1.1 now away from Carrasquillo, trying to bridge the gap as now they look to make their way through a Rouge and Radion. Famolaro with a very untidy exit. That nose just getting a little bit peaky coming out of the source. Coming over now, Eau Rouge and Radion. Carrasquillo, in fact, losing time on Rui Hengye coming out of turn one.
He was 0.2 slower last time around, and that gap seems to be growing. They're still in the wheel tracks of the championship leader, but did at least get it off the line this time, and so we are seeing the straight fight that we expected to see, side by side further back between Lorenzo Castillo, who goes straight across the runoff area, who's wheel-to-wheel with Victor Dobransky for 8th position, and that has left him vulnerable to Gino Trapper.
A look at the inside there, that was extremely risque. Gino Trapper just looked to try and take a, I'm not sure whether it wasn't really evasive movements there. It was more trying to, I think, catch Castillo off guard. Wasn't able to pull it off, but still opportunities lie in wait for all these drivers around the Circuit of Spa. So much variation, like we mentioned before the race began. Of course, this has been a proving ground for many a driver, a great driver. Of course, like we've said before, home of the Belgian Grand Prix, has been for so many years. 7.004 kilometers in length over one single lap. That's 4.352 miles. 19 turns in total. This layout has been in existence since 2007 as we know it. As we now watch them make their way through the next sequence of right-handers coming through Campos and Stavolo, soon to be Corbet, Paul Frere as well. At the moment though, Rui Hengye still starting to build that margin out. He was actually purple inside the middle sector on this lap as well, so continues to power in these big deltas and putting the pressure on Carrasquillo.
But De La Torre is matching the leader's pace out there. In fact, was quicker than both of them in the first sector, at the very least. So De La Torre is closing down that gap. You can visually see it. He's bridging it between Herrera and Carrasquillo.
Inside a second.
Pretty soon this will be a 3-car battle for the lead. Very different lines going into La Source. A little bit wide there for Herrera in 4th position. And yeah, that pace is now being reflected in the overall lap times as well. De La Torre 4/10 quicker than the race leader on the previous lap. Carrasquillo 1/10 quicker than Rui Hengye with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, saw a puff of, you can just see the smoke coming out, trailing out of Filippo Fiorentino's car as they now make the charge uphill. Rui Hengye still in front. Carrasquillo able to bring that gap straight down. It's 5/10 of a second. As now once again Everett Stack on the attack. This time of Javier Herrera goes a long way around coming through Les Combes, and that was absolutely stellar from Stack. And he's now in P4.
That's classic outside pass there at Les Combes. Lovely stuff from the young American. Just makes his way past Herrera. So it's a very nice opening lap for Herrera, but it seems the raw pace is still with the cars around him. But nonetheless, this is still a far more confident Javier Herrera we're seeing here than we saw in Portimao. So the car behind him now is Jan Koller, which will be his rival for the Rookie Class Honours. Just on Giuseppe Mizzotti there in the BVM Racing garage, studying his drivers, and I'm sure his new recruit, who is 10 seconds behind the next car. So at least he is running and getting some miles under his belt. Oh, Herrera, yeah, 2 wheels in the gravel out of Stavolo. That was the same mistake that Stack made on the opening lap. Now, luckily, Jan Koller wasn't too close behind. He is certainly an awful lot closer now as they head towards Blanchimont. And so it is the red and black motorpark car. Thought about going around the outside there of Jan Koller, trying to go around Javier Herrera, but he finds the inside line for the bus stop chicane. That'll be a change for 5th position now as Koller goes through and takes the top honours in rookie class as well.
Absolutely. Great move from Jan Koller. So now 5th place, as seen on your timing screen. But back comes Herrera, another little look, just firing a warning shot coming into La Source. Bit of side-by-side as well further back. Of course, I think that's Victor Dobransky, I think, just getting into the midst of a tussle. Oh, indeed, yes. And I think that was Fiorentino, indeed, in the white and red machine. Trapper, I do apologise. The Argentinian hovering all over the back and now looking to go wheel-to-wheel up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Looks like he was let through there, Gino Trapper, and he will now move through past Dobransky.
Yeah, I don't think he quite fancied going side-by-side through Eau Rouge there, Victor Dobransky, and I cannot blame him, but he has left himself exposed there, I'm afraid, to Alessandro Famularo. I wouldn't be surprised if he does pass past. Look how much closer it is now for the lead, though, George. It was another 0.2 of a second that Jesse Carrasquillo took out of the race leader last time around. The gap was less than 1/4 of a second when they went into Les Combes at the end of the first sector. So De La Torre has dropped off the back of Carrasquillo as a result of that. It's Carrasquillo with the pace now in that car with much more luminous yellow on it. Thank you, Motorpark, for making those changes.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, a little bit of disparity between the liveries is always useful. And indeed, we've begin to recognise the Motorpark livery for what it is. Of course, it is red and black. We do see it. We had Yevon David, though, last season. Very distinctive blue with the Sri Lankan lion on the side. Of course, Everett Stack going very much against the grain with his blue livery at the same time. They now descend and coming through Campus and Stavolo once more. Soon to be Corbet, Paul Frere once again. Yeah, and Carrasquillo still a match together. The
problem with the drivers that because Everett Stack's livery is about his sponsors. And that is an increasing problem for young drivers finding the sponsorship, isn't it? It's ever the topic of, oh, look how close this is now into the bus stop chicane. With 8 laps to go, it'll be when they go across the stripe. Carrasquillo well in striking distance here.
Yeah, definitely. We just see there Kai, the engineer, obviously getting into the earpieces of the Motorpark drivers. Got such a professional squadron at Motor Park that they've harboured for so many years. Their first win, incidentally, at this Spa circuit coming from Marino Sato back in 2019 after he took pole. Rui Hengye looking to join that club as well to go from lights to flag, but that's going to become increasingly difficult with Jesse Carrasquedo hovering all over the back of him. We saw how quick and relentless he was back at Portimao. This time, the job has been made a lot easier by the fact that he qualified and started extremely well. As they now look to climb their way up through towards Lake Com, Jesse Carrasquedo, with his arm gesturing, asking Rui Hengye to come back into line.
No, he's saying, forget about me, I'm not passing you. Let's make a gap to Diego De La Torre. That's classic karting technique there, George, where you, obviously it's a lot easier to see the gestures, but you do the like, no, let's go and make a gap.
Let's work together.
Let's work together here, because otherwise Diego De La Torre is going to enter this fray as well. And getting two racing drivers to agree on something is very difficult. Getting three, impossible.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, I mean, Diego De La Torre, as far as he's concerned, he's more concerned about putting himself on the top step, and has had a wonderful start to this campaign as well. He's flown under the radar, Diego De La Torre. He is second in the championship, by the way, 11 points behind Rui Hengye, but he blanketed the podiums back at Portimao. So it looks like he's going to do the same again, but he's still chasing that first win of the season.
First win in Euroformula at all.
Yeah.
He didn't take any victories last season. It's this sophomore year in the championship. But what this means, Joy, Carrasquedo will sit behind Rui Hengye until the last lap.
Yeah, well, that's generally the communication, I suppose, in a sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then we go back to what we were talking about on the formation lap. When does he decide to make his move on the last lap? If he does it into Lake Com, he's then exposed at this part of the racetrack, and Rui Hengye could maybe pounce on him at the bus stop.
There's never any guarantees, though.
None at all.
He might be just
wide there for Rui Hengye, who's
yeah.
very scruffy under braking.
And that's invited Diego De La Torre in more so as well, because they've had to take that final corner with kid gloves. So the plan that Carrasquedo had has been ripped up now. He's going to try and land the attack straight away on Rui Hengye up the inside from Jesse Carrasquedo. And for the first time in the Euroformula this season, he takes the lead of the race.
Yeah, but surely Rui Hengye is going to come blasting past him down the Kemmel Straight. So the plan has very much been ripped up now, George, because Diego De La Torre is right with them as well. So up Brady on they go, and down the Kemmel Straight, and Rui Hengye, I'm sure, will try and take the lead back again. Pulls out to the slipstream to driver's left. And how quickly can Carrasquedo... Yeah, look, he's already done it halfway down the straight, but Carrasquedo will come back at him again to the outside at Lake Com. Difficult to make a move there without a compliant driver. And look at that, 3 cars now, line astern for the lead, and we're only about half race distance.
And I wouldn't even write off Everett Stack joining this either, because he's urging a little bit closer. Over the last lap, he was faster than the front 2. Diego De La Torre was a little bit quicker by 0.02 of a second, but that's negatable at this moment in time. So Stack could very well join the party, turning what was a 2-car battle, which is now a 3-car battle, potentially into a 4-car battle. Here's the moment again, just getting mixed up with the steering, coming down into the bus stop. He had to try and recover, but of course the exit was tarnished, and therefore Carrasquedo could pounce.
Hey, look, the rear brakes under braking for the bus stop chicane. That is very rare to see. So maybe a brake bias adjustment needed there for Rui Hengye. It's certainly very odd to see the back end stepping out under braking when you get to this level. But for now, Rui Hengye has the lead back again. Might just recalibrate his braking point for the bus stop potentially.
I don't think this lead battle is going to finish anytime soon, Chris, to be honest.
No.
With 7 laps to go. Obviously, Carrasquedo still within half a second, and we know how powerful that slipstream is, especially in the Dallara 324 chassis. De La Torre a second back, still with the fastest lap of the race. Verrazano has moved into 12th as well, ahead of Divi Nandan, so progress for the Neri Autosport team, who started from the very back of the grid. They're now up into P12. There is Diego De La Torre, still fighting all over the back of the front 2 as we once again rejoin the Gino Trapper, or should I say, no, sorry, the Fiorentina and Javier Herrera battle that's happening further back. Let's take a look at this moment. This is Divi Nandan, so this is what happened. So Verrazano, obviously in behind, that's the Neri Autosport car, takes the inside line and therefore moves into P12. But we now rejoin the battle at the front, because it's Rui Hengye, albeit for now, but this time it's going to be Carrasquedo who has the betterment of the slipstream, and Diego De La Torre also part of this, looking to urge himself a little bit closer, but for now it is Carrasquedo the man to watch, because he's now starting to coerce his way further and closer to the back of Rui Hengye. Yeah, goes slightly defensive, just looks to the inside. Carrasquedo now opts to go late up the inside, just to fire another warning shot, just to leave on kid gloves for now, but still manages to retain the lead.
So a complete 180 from 2 laps ago when he was saying, let's make a gap.
Plan for all now with Diego Della Torre being inside the top 3.
Very much so. Carrasquedo, now 19 years old. He turned 19 shortly after Portimao, and formerly coached by Sergio and Antonio Perez. Uses the same trainers, actually, as the Perez brothers, Xavi Marquez and Joe Cables. So following Rui Hengye through the middle sector out of Pouhon and into Les Combes. Sure, be getting an awful lot of wash from the rear of that car. Obviously, less turbulent air than a Formula 1 car, but these are single-seaters. They're very aero-dependent, and so I'm sure we'll be pushing the front Pirelli tyres quite a bit as a result of that as well. But the beauty of Spa is that the sections like this bring you right back into play.
Jan Koller losing places, and that's why he's stuck in the gravel. And that could very well lead to a safety car here, obviously with 6 laps to go.
That's down at the Fagnes chicane, and now there's going to be a bit of a scramble in the motor park garage to see how they're going to play this. And the safety car has been deployed with 5 laps to go. It'll be when they get over the timing line here. And so car needing to be extracted from the Fagnes chicane. Now that, of course, is going to bring Everett Stack back into play here. Not going to change so much between these 3, but it's going to bring Stack back into play.
And the big question is, who's been looking after the tyres better at this point as well, because that could be a decisive factor. You know, if there's more grip on certain cars, it certainly does help at Spa, and it's amplified in certain sections. We've seen it already. But heartbreak for Jan Koller, who qualified exceptionally well. We mentioned, of course, moved his way to the 2nd row of the grid. That has all now fallen afoul, and now we see Rui Hengye bring his delta down to what's expected, now behind the safety car with Jesse Carrasquedo lined up behind him in 2nd place, but now automatically that originally 2-car scrap has now allowed the rest of the grid to catch up. Everett Stack now in touching distance. Javier Herrera with a golden olive branch here for BVM Racing. Fiorentino in the mix. Trapper, who has been a thorn in the side of Fiorentino already. Of course, we've seen Fiorentino being a thorn in the side of Herrera almost recently. But it's been a very busy start to this Belgian weekend.
Great for Alco Feldman as well, because that allows him to get back onto the trainer cars.
I'd imagine he's delighted.
Yeah, that gap was 10 seconds between himself and his teammate Divi Nandan. And remember, he was the fastest BVM driver in qualifying, so I would expect him to make a bit of forward progress when the safety car does indeed come in. Well, hopefully we'll get 2 or 3 laps of racing in. So just weaving to maintain a little bit of that Pirelli tyre temperature. It's Rui Hengye from Jesse Carrasquedo, Diego Della Torre and Everett Stack up at the front of the field. And Javier Herrera, look how nervous the Ye clan is in the motor park garage. Javier Herrera leads the rookie classification after that moment for Jan Koller. And I wonder if the 2 were entangled, leading to Koller's arrival into the gravel trap. Not sure if we managed to catch that anywhere, but he is ahead of Filippo Fiorentino and Gino Trapper. Alessandro Famolaro still down in 8th position. I'm sure they'll have some questions over where's his pace been for this weekend, with Lorenzo Castillo and Victor Dobransky completing the top 10.
He might have been slightly disconnected due to the groups forming, I think, through the course of the race. Because remember, he did start right towards the rear of the field, didn't he? So yeah. I think now that he's got an opportunity from 8th place in this classification, I think this almost becomes a renewed opportunity for Famolaro. Obviously, it's a renewed opportunity for every driver, but especially for Famolaro, because of course he was so disconnected down in the outside the top 10. So we'll really see where his pace lands.
And once you lose the toe here, it's very
devastating.
difficult.
Devastating,
Very difficult
yeah.
to do anything about that. We just saw Jan Koller vacating that number 50 car from Motorpark, the low loader, ready to carry the car back to pit lane. It's an early shower for Jan Koller, I'm afraid. The 18-year-old from Prague in his first year of racing at the Formula 3 level, coming from Italian F4 last year. So it will be 4 to go. So 3 potential racing laps left. So we see the new colours on that Neri Autosport car, which is quite nice. There was a lot of bare carbon on that car in Portimao, and I cannot stress enough, it's a skeleton crew over at Neri Autosport, the new team for this year, and really focused around having one driver. They're like, yeah, we've seen what Motorpark does by having 27 drivers at the same time, but we want to focus on just one guy and get them up at the front of the field.
Well, I suppose once you've got yourself ingrained into the championship, once you understand its nuances as well, if you focus your efforts on one car, if you can get that right, then you could get it right with multiple entries in future iterations of the championship.
Yeah, very much so. It's a very steep learning curve for Neri Autosports this year, but I know that Motorpark has been very forthcoming in helping out new teams on arrival. Certainly last year when we had Nielsen Racing enter the championship, there was a lot of communication about just understanding the car, which is very good of Motorpark to help benefit the health of the championship.
Well, up through Rouge and Radion they'll go once again under safety car procedure. Fans all in the grandstands observing as these junior single-seater drivers now look to climb the Strait of Kemmel through towards Les Combes. What a start to this weekend. It has certainly been action-packed with lead changes as well as podium position changes, and that looks like it could be set to continue as well, with Everett Stack now part of the group, and Avi Herrera might yet be looking to recover as well. The young 16-year-old looking to prove himself in this campaign after a very successful run in the F4 Central European Zone Championship. Of course, we've got other drivers that have excelled also on their way to Euroformula as well. Lorenzo Castillo spent plenty of time karting before then joining Euro Cup 3 after Spanish F4. This being his 3rd season in single-seaters, now racing with us here in the Euroformula Open Championship. And we look at the likes of Victor Dombrowski, the 19-year-old from Krakow in Poland, and his family, incidentally, with a strong rallying background. Began in single-seaters 2 years ago with Spanish F4, Italian F4, and also in the Central European Zone, and then with Euro Cup 3 last year. Now also finding home here in the Euroformula Open Championship. And yeah, it's certainly grand to see these young drivers find an extra gear in their career. And we look at the likes of Christian Mansell, who was here battling in 2022 against Ollie Goethe. Goethe, of course, still racing in FIA Formula 2 at the moment, has also taken steps to race in GTs in the past. Of course, his brother Benji Goethe doing that as well at the moment. Of course, we witnessed him in the International GT Open.
Doing Le Mans this year as well is
yes.
Benjamin. I think he's for the first time with McLaren.
And now we've got Christian Mansell as well getting into the mix of GT racing, and he looks like it's going to be a very successful career decision for him after putting, well, at least going fastest for his session in qualifying this morning.
So one thing I tell young drivers when I meet them, do not sleep on GT and sports car racing. You spend all the money in the world trying to get further up the single-seater ladder. And some of them can and some of them do. And, you know, we see a lot of those success stories, like Zane Maloney, when he went into F2 and was great, now having a very nice career in Formula E. Noel Leon and Ollie Goethe, going into F2. And then several even going into F1, but do not sleep on the GT and sports car racing, because it's a great career path for young drivers.
I love the diversification in how drivers from the Euroformula have gone and spread themselves throughout several, as we get confirmation the safety car is coming in, but there are so many options now for drivers in this day and age, and it's great to see. And it means they can progress and find their feet in various veins of this great sport. But the driver's now getting prepared. Now, essentially, it's Rui Hengya who becomes the safety car. He's going to make the decision as to when to go. And it's going to be on Jesse Carrasquedo to respond to whatever Rui Hengye decides to do. In the background, you can see Diego Della Torre with the green wingtips and also on the mirrors as well, on the T-cam. So you head down through towards the bus stop once again, just trickling along through Blanchimont. And very soon, Rui Hengye will pull the plug on this, and now he does. He will go down through towards the bus stop chicane. Jose Carrasquedo maybe just caught a little bit there because Diego Della Torre is a little bit closer to him than he is to Yeo. And a lock up there for Carrasquedo, and that's devastating. Huge opportunity now for Della Torre, who will, I think, sweep on through very tight. Not quite, but they put pedal to the metal anyway for the second time in this race. And Everett Stack looking to the outside, but it's wheel to wheel over second place now as they get back into racing action. Carrasquedo wheel to wheel with Della Torre. Della Torre around the outside of La Source gets the move done, and now Stack sensing blood, smelling blood in the wheel tracks now of Jose Carrasquedo. Further back as well, Javier Herrera looking for a rebirth here in this race as they now fly up through Rouge and Radion. Nose to tail indeed between these three, and indeed the two behind as well as they now climb the hill. Here comes Stack, the Stack attack now on show. He'll go side by side here this time. Della Torre protected to some degree there in third place as now once again Carrasquedo looks to cut off Herrera. Wheel to wheel now between Stack and Carrasquedo. Carrasquedo hangs on by the skin of his teeth. Stack will continue to probe, I'm sure, though.
That was absolute dream for Rui Hengye because Carrasquedo absolutely screwed his front tyre there, and Della Torre was in an awkward position because he couldn't overtake him before the timing line, and so had to wait to be able to make that move. How much problem is that going to cause Carrasquedo? We are going to go down to time now, so I think we're going to be 1 lap short of the 13-lap provisional distance. So I think it's going to be 12 because we've got 2 minutes left on the clock, which means it'll be the last lap when they go across the stripe next time around. So it's Della Torre in second for now, 1.3 seconds behind Rui Hengye. That is absolutely perfect for him on the restart. Can Carrasquedo get himself back up into second place? Can Stack get himself up on the podium as well? We're going to see the moment again. Now, of course, this is a safety car restart, so the tyres are colder than they would be at normal operating temperature, and he locked both front tyres and skated straight on. But you see, he has to take such an acute line, but Della Torre could not pass him until they got to the timing line, and that's a very muted reaction in the middle of the cab. But Carrasquedo going for the move again into the bus stop chicane. Della Torre shuts the door. How did they not make contact there? That was measured to the millimeter right there. Stack with an excellent run now onto the start-finish straight. They're starting the final lap now, and it looks like that's third position now for Everett Stack. He's not done yet. Switches to the inside, tries to take second place away from Della Torre.
Yeah, Della Torre chasing a third successive P2 visit this season. It looks like, though, it might be in jeopardy, though he has managed to close off Stack for now, but Stack will get the run, as will Carrasquedo. We're going to have a 3-car, maybe 4-car affair. Wheel to wheel through Rouge and Radion. Carrasquedo around the outside. That is absolutely spectacular, but he's off. He's off. It's got a puncture surely on the rear right. By the looks of it here, he brings the car to a standstill, and now we are left with Stack, Herrera fighting it out further back as well. We do have, I think, Gennaro Trapper now into the thick of the action too. It's wheel to wheel once again. Stack in third, but for how much longer? Because here comes Herrera at the inside and through with Malmedy into third place.
Lovely stuff from Herrera. I think it was a front left puncture for Carrasquedo potentially. Quite how that happened, we'll have to see a replay on it. But yeah, we're running out of opportunities now. It looks like Rui Hengye is secure for the win. It looks like Diego Della Torre is secure for second place now. Who is going to be joining them on the podium? They're just all queuing up, ready for that last slipstreaming opportunity. Out of Curve Paul Frere, through Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane. It is Javier Herrera on course for a pretty sensational maiden podium here at the moment, but surely Everett Stack is not going to let his rival from across the pit lane to allow that to happen. So this is the moment. Cut through Stavelot here, and then they're flat out all the way up to the bus stop chicane.
They certainly are. The final corners now beckon. Stack now confirmed P4 on our screens. Now as we see Herrera continuing third, chasing a first podium of the season, and indeed in the Euroformula, a sensational bounce back here in this championship after what happened at Portimao. But Rui Hengye on his return to the series once more, looking to continue continue this rich vein of form that saw him take an early lead in the championship by 11 points. Well, he's going to grow the gap once more now on his run under the bus stop chicane. 3 cars scrap further back, but Enzo or Rui Hengye will take a 3rd win of the season from pole to victory. He does it in style. Diego Della Torre as a 3rd successive 2nd place finish, with Javier Herrera on the podium for the first time, and does so brilliantly, bouncing back from the horrors of Portimao. Everett Stack can only remain in 4th, Gino Trapper in 5th, Fiorentino in 6th place, Famolaro down in 7th, Castillo, Ferrazzano sensationally now up to P9 after starting towards the rear of the field. And then we have Divi Nandan in P10. But what a race. Everything we've come to love about junior single-seater racing. You had it all, folks. But here's the results from SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS Race 1 here in the Euroformula Open Championship Round 2. Rui Hengye, your winner here at the Ardennes, with Diego Della Torre in 2nd place, Javier Herrera winning rookie driver and finishing 3rd overall, ahead of Everett Stack in 4th, and then Gennaro Trapper in 5th, Filippo Fiorentino in 6th, Alessandro Famolaro 7th, Lorenzo Castillo in 8th place. P9 then went to Aaron Ferrazzano, Divi Nandan, Alco Feldman, Victor Dobransky, Jose Carrasquillo, Jan Koller, but this is the man of the moment, Rui Hengye, for a 3rd time a victor here in the Euroformula Open Championship. It's been a stunning start for this young man. Of course, raced in the Formula Regional European Championship a season ago, has now come across to the Euroformula Open, and he loves this Dallara 324.
He hasn't learned from Portimao. He still doesn't know where the scales are, where he's supposed to go after getting out of the car.
Some things never change.
Yeah, we need to start labelling that section. Well done, this young man.
Yeah.
Javier Herrera, what a turnaround for him. And a shake of the hands and a little hug with his engineer, which is Matteo Cossani.
There was a lot of excitement around Javier Herrera coming into this season. Giuseppe Mazzotti, I know, was very excited about the young man joining the grid, and of course showed a lot of promise after his run in Formula 4. But now stepping into the Formula 3 category of racing here in the Euroformula. What a spectacular moment this was. I mean, it looked like Carrasquillo had he must have made contact with the front wing or something of Stack's car. I do wonder. We'll just have a look now to see which tyre.
Okay. So, sorry, because there was smoke coming off the front left, I assumed it was a puncture, but there's a big slice in the left rear. So I think you called that correctly on the initial there, George. It must be. I can't think of anything else. He must have just nicked the front wing by the merest of
tiniest
touches.
Margins.
Yeah.
Tiniest margins.
Wow. I mean, talk about fine margins.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sad once again, Carrasquillo misses out on that one.
I think we can all agree his pace is absolutely exceptional. Let's take a look at your race winner, though. That is Rui Hengye. Of course, number 21 for Motor Park Team. He'll be looking, I'm sure, to continue this great run, and it is on to blanket the weekend. He's with Alfredo.
And so, yeah, from pole to win, everything went all right.
Yeah, for sure. Saturday for me was an amazing day. Everything go well. I got pole, I got win, and the start was good. So for me, Saturday was a very good day for me.
The stupid thing to say is that it looked easy, but it's never easy.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was very competitive, so nothing was easy. So I can take this win. I'm very happy with it.
And of course, there was a lot of fight behind you that helped you.
Yeah, I mean, I made a bit good restart, so I think I made some gap and they will fight, so let me win a bit easier.
Well done. That strengthens your position in the championship. Well done.
Thank you.
Let's take a look back at the highlights from race 1 here at Spa. A spectacular getaway from Rui Hengye. He did have a grand start, did he not? Jose Carrasquillo moving to the inside, trying to catch him unawares, perhaps coming through turn 1. It was wheel-to-wheel as well between Javier Herrera and Everett Stack. They made their way through Malmedy. Stack managed to move into 3rd place, but that position would be continually fought for right through the course of this one. A massive scramble, though. Diego Della Torre fantastically moving his way through the field. It was a great race on his part. At the same time, managing to dodge by Jan Koller. Coller in the early echelons. We then saw wheel-to-wheel once again, Javier Herrera tussling it out with Everett Stack. Absolutely succulent move around the outside at Lecom for Stack pulling off that P3 position, albeit for that point in time. Jan Coller also, after starting where he did on the second row, he had some disruption, he had to manage. Carrasquedo, though, was also very prevalent. Starting on the front row, he continued to pepper the back of Rui Hengye, just wasn't quite able to at least maintain the position at the front, tried to gesture to Rui Hengye that they were looking to work together. That, of course, came to a head, and they started battling, and eventually it led, after the safety car, to Jesse Carrasquedo locking out the brakes and the tyres and squealing off at the end of bus stop. He then forfeited a place to Diego de la Torre. Then we saw Carrasquedo back against Stack. A little bit of contact marginally meant a puncture, what looked to be the rear right or the rear left, as they made their way up through the Kemmel Straight. Indeed, Javier Herrera back looking to gain places. He eventually found third place. No one could deny, though, Rui Hengye, a magical third win of the season. And how about that? 3 wins in 4 races. So there we have it, folks. That's your race winner, Rui Hengye, kicking things off in the right way, simply put. I mean, winner at Portimao Race 1, winner in Portimao Race 3. Race 2 was a bit unfortunate, finished in 5th, but this is a great platform for this young man to launch his title challenge.
It certainly is. Absolutely fantastic. And this time it was Javier Herrera who's getting lost this time on the podium. Went to the second place spot, but here's the Chinese Taipei anthem.
It's amazing to think that this young man came into the Euroformula last season, taking part in the last 2 rounds of the campaign. Best result was 4th at Monza in race 2. Of course, did compete in other realms of the championship, but now, obviously, coming in this season, going from that best result of 4th to now winning 3 races. I mean, that is some upward curve trajectory.
Yeah, of course, the switch from BVM to Motorpark during the off-season, but this is an almighty start, as it is for De La Torre as well. You know, 4th consecutive podium out there. The top step continues to elude him because it is occupied by that man. Jesus Pereira, the CEO of the GT Sport organization, hands the winner's trophy out, and the team trophy being collected there by the Motorpark representative, and it will be 2 trophies for Javier Herrera. So he'll get the rookie class trophy.
Well, we still have 2 more to go to bring you, though, folks. It's all done today. We'll see you tomorrow. Join us on Sunday.